Debt ceiling showdown, and some legislators say the best way to avoid a beltway battle is to repeal the debt ceiling itself. Congressman Jerry Nadler introducing that legislation today, and he joins me now. In full disclosure, he is my congressman, and Congressman, you do a hell of a job in your district. We're very happy with you there.
Thank you.
But I set that up as a compliment to criticize you because I look at a debt ceiling, which started at $10 trillion, forgive me, when the president came in office. It's now $16 trillion. Don't we need the restraint of a debt ceiling to prevent the spending from even going further?
No, and it doesn't restrain spending at all. Congress makes the decisions as to what to spend, what the level of taxation should be, what the level of spending should be. The debt ceiling is just there and says you cannot pay the bills that you voted to incur a year ago and 2 years ago and 3 years ago. And that's just wrong. Now, it used to be harmless in that the debt ceiling would be raised with a little demagoguing here and there, but no one ever seriously suggested not raising it. It was raised 7 times during the second Bush administration with no great debate. But now it's being used as blackmail and could wreck the entire American economy.
Congressman, hold on for a second, because in 2002, June 2002, in November 2004, and in 2006, guess who voted against raising the debt ceiling? Jerry Nadler, member of Congress. So what's changed?
Yeah, as I said,
why were you in favor of keeping a restraint, that debt ceiling restraint then, and not so now?
Because it was a meaningless gesture, frankly. When you had a Republican president, a Republican Congress, the minority demagogued and said, we'll vote against it, knowing perfectly well it would pass. No one ever seriously tried to have it not pass. And whenever we were in the majority, the Democrats says we passed it, even in the Bush administration, because you knew it had to pass. Now, I'm not trying to make any excuses for political demagoguery in the past, but the fact is, what is new is that the Republicans now seem serious about not raising the debt ceiling, and that could throw the economy into a real depression.
Well, Congressman, what is really new is the degree of spending that we have in this country that we really haven't had before. And you look at
that's
the
not
Obama.
true.
Hold on a second, because you hear a lot of people talk about numbers in the future. The president says, I'm for reducing spending by so much $1 trillion. But let's just look at the numbers that have happened, the numbers that we can put up from the Department of Treasury. 2008, we saw about $3 trillion of spending. We saw that jump in 2009. Of course, a lot of that was as a result of the stimulus. But those numbers, that $500 billion more in spending that this president has brought on board, has remained for the past four fiscal years. So we have this 20% increase in spending. That's really different, and that's one of the main reasons we've seen this debt jump to $16 trillion.
First of all, there are 2 separate issues which shouldn't be confused. Issue number 1 is raising the debt ceiling, which simply allows you to pay the bills that were already voted for. And that was already voted for. Maybe they shouldn't have been, but that was already voted for. Not to raise the debt ceiling would cause the government to default on its debts, interest rates would spike, and you destroy the entire economy.
I can't allow that to go by, Congressman, because there's no guarantee that we would default as a result of reaching that point. I mean, we have enough revenue coming in to pay off our bondholders.
Well, it depends what you mean by default. If you paid the bondholders at the expense of not paying Social Security checks or the salaries of the military or the salaries of the air traffic controllers, the fact is we have a 40% difference between the income coming in and the expenditures that were voted. That would be regarded by the financial markets, I think, as a default.
It would require enormous cutbacks in spending.
We don't want to explore that territory.
There's no question it would cause enormous, because as you point out quite rightly, 40 cents of every dollar that we spend is borrowed. That's part of the problem inside the Beltway. There's so much borrowing going on. Wouldn't it make sense to link somehow the debt ceiling, this agreement on the debt ceiling, to a permanent restraint on spending?
No, it does not, because in effect you're saying either you restrain spending to the amount that we want, or we'll destroy the economy. It's like an old 1930s gangster movie where you're saying it's a nice economy you got over there. Pity if it should happen to blow up if you don't grant me my demand.
You gotta forgive. My congressman is from New York. He says it with that New York way of saying things, and that's why we love him in our district. Thank you very much, Jerry Nadler. Good to see you.
You're quite welcome.
Appreciate it. Liz, over to you.
I like that line.